All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Lisa. How are you?
Morning, Colleen. I'm good. How are you?
I am good. It's a beautiful fall morning out there.
It is.
I know
Not
it's
ready
not
for
fall
cold.
yet, but it's feeling like it.
Not ready for cold because we know it comes after fall. That's what I don't like. So,
Yes, I'm totally with you. Actually, it's pretty out there today. I got up and it was so foggy this morning, so it's nice to see some of that fog burning off. But Lisa, I am so blessed. Not only is she my very, very best friend in the whole wide world, but she's joining me for the class. She's going to be answering all of your questions behind the scene. And I know many of you already know Lisa because she's been a phenomenal trainer here for a long time. And Lisa, how long have you been in real estate too?
I think 34 years now. It keeps
34
climbing up
years.
a little too long.
So when you got licensed when you were one, I totally get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for helping out with all the questions. So if you haven't attended a webinar with us before, how this kind of works is I'm going to take you through some time-saving tips and techniques in Paragon MLS. And Lisa is going to be kind enough to be behind the scenes answering all of your questions. So you're probably thinking at this point, well, where do I put those questions? So over in your go-to webinar panel, which may be minimized either over at the right or with at the bottom of your tray on your computer with a little blue flower. If you open that up, you will find a questions box. And in that questions box, you can fire off any questions and Lisa will be kind enough to answer them. If she's getting a lot of the same questions, she'll just jump right in and she'll announce that question and then we can go through it again. So don't be shy today with asking questions. We want to make it as interactive as possible. So thanks again, Lisa, for handling all the questions since we had such a big group today.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could help out.
All right. So really my whole goal today is to show you some time-saving tips and techniques in Paragon. Things I guess I wish that I would have known when I started using Paragon. I have to be honest, a lot of the things I'm going to show you are things I've learned from Lisa. She's taught me a lot of tips and tricks along the way, but these are kind of a big list that I put together of, boy, I wish there was an easier way. And then one day, lo and behold, there was an easier way. So I'm going to show you some of those today. And really, it kind of starts off in Paragon, just in your basic searching. But I'm going to show you some things that I'm pretty sure you don't know. So make sure you take a couple of notes along the way. However, if you miss anything, we are recording this class, so you can go back and you can see this class recording at any time. I'm going to show you at the end of the class where you find it. And there are also some cheat sheets that Lisa and I created. So I'm going to show you where you can find those as well. And that way, when the class is all over, you still have these great resources to go to. So hopefully that sounds good. So let's actually start there. I'm going to turn off my kind of fuzzy hair from all this fog and humidity, and we will get right into Paragon where you can find all the good stuff. So as I mentioned, if you missed anything today, let's say you get a call or you have to go bottom line an offer, hopefully, you can always go into Paragon under resources. And this is where you're going to find our education. Education is where you'll find this recorded class. You got to give me about a day to get it uploaded for you. But all you have to do is go into resources, which I want you to think of kind of like your agent toolbox, if you will. You're going to click on those recorded webinars, and that's going to take you right to our YouTube channel. When you click on videos right here, it'll show you all the previous classes and you'll see today's date right next to the class. So not only can you see this class, but you can see all of our classes. And Lisa teaches an amazing public records class, which we have coming up in just a few days. And so if you haven't checked that out, there's a link to that as well, or you can register. Let me show you where you can register for her class. Same place, you're going to go to resources. And this time you're going to go to the education corner. So this is really all about where you can find these recorded classes as well as sign up for future classes. If you click on that education corner, what we did is we made this kind of like an online, they call it a flipping book. And it literally allows you to flip to the class that you're looking for. So let's say you wanted to take Lisa's awesome public records class, which happens to be coming up November 13th at 11 a.m. You just click here to register. We've got transaction desk classes, Cuba Casa classes. We've even got some specialty classes like creating a listing from A to Z, tools for tackling low inventory. And of course, we also have classes like our photography class that's taught by Taylor Fiedel, how to take better pictures of your listings, one of my favorites. Anyway, those are all included right in your education corner. All right. So, where I'd like to start today is with some basic searching. All of the things, again, that I didn't know you could do in Paragon that makes searching and finding properties a little bit easier. The first time saving tip and technique is kind of hidden right up here, if you will, and that's in your power search. If somebody just called you and they are looking for one property fast, they're calling you on 123 Main Street, instead of having to go to your quick search, put a bunch of information in, you can just type in 123 Main Street. And as you can see, it immediately pulls up those records. By the way, actives for 123 Main Street are always going to shoot to the top. But as you can see, there's quite a few 123 Main Streets. Maybe I want to pull up all 10 of those listings. I can simply click on the listings 10 number right here, and it's going to pull up those 10 properties for me to see right away. I also have a little OCD, so I kind of like to organize things. Did you know that when you're looking at search results, not only can you add in additional things for search results, but you can even organize them by simply clicking on the column heading. So maybe I want to see actives with actives and closed with closed to see how many actives I have. I can click on that status and it will sort them that way. Now, another thing that I really like when I'm looking at my search results, and I'm just going to grab the market monitor here real quick. Another thing that I really like as an agent, I have been very blessed to do this 24 years, not quite as long as Lisa yet, but I've been very blessed to do this 24 years and work with some amazing agents. Yes, there have been a couple that if they never called me back, I probably would be able to live with that. But in this case, if I am showing, let's say I'm showing 10 of these properties tonight, I kind of like to have the listing agent name right in my search results. Well, that's something that you can do. So if I'm going to show 10 properties, not that I wouldn't show someone's properties if we didn't have a good experience, but I might show it last on the list. So for instance, Robert, who I know, I'm going to say, yeah, I want to show his property. You might want to show 4 or 5 properties, but you do like to see who that listing agent is. I also added the listing agent with cell phone number so that I also have that as I'm going ahead and scheduling these properties. Another thing that I wanted to show you, because this used to drive me kind of crazy, if I am, let's say, doing a CMA or I'm showing these properties, if I've selected the ones I want, I hate that all these extras just hang out here, right? It looks very messy and it's just a lot to look at. So here's another quick tip. If you click the checked box, this is going to allow you now to basically just see the ones that you've selected. Here's another quick tip. Did you know if you're actually going to show these particular properties, so I can see this one's a coming soon, so I'm going to deselect that one. But did you know if you were going to quickly schedule a showing for each one of these properties, that you can drop them into a showing cart right from here? Yep. You can actually go right to this little plugin here where it says actions. And it's going to give you a couple different options. Think of this little plugin button as like your easy button, okay? So think of that as I'm going to plug this in right to another program. So I'm going to click on actions and I'm going to drop these directly into a ShowingTime cart. So let me show you how this works. So I'm going to say yes. I'm going to go ahead and close the reminder that you do need a buyer representation agreement. I'm going to say I want to start my showing cart. And I'm going to say I'm going to show these properties tomorrow. I'm also, you could put a brand new buyer name in, or maybe I'm just going to show them to a buyer I've worked with, like our very buyer here. And I'm going to select OK. Now, what I love about this is it's going to show you if it's a go and show or if it's an appointment required. Now, I like this because let's say, for instance, that you were going to run out and show these on your lunch. So you just got the call. He's only got a half hour. Well, I might want to rearrange these in an order where my go and show is first. So I immediately get one or two lock boxes. So I have time to get the other ones confirmed. Or because I've dropped these in, you can see, wow, that would be driving all over. That really wouldn't work. So instead of dropping them in from the MLS and driving all over one, then the other, what I really want to do is I want to do a smart route. I'm going to go ahead and now put these in a logical driving order, as you can see. And once these are confirmed, I can even send my buyer turn-by-turn directions. But let's take a look at a couple of other things here. So of course you can rearrange these as you need to, but what I really liked here is that of course I can drag and drop them into the order I want. But if let's say Lisa's showing these properties and another agent is showing it from 11 to 11:30, and maybe Lisa's not allowing overlapping appointments, even though I think she does, but let's say she's not. I could actually see that that time is blocked out instead of having to schedule them one by one. So in essence, if there is an unavailable time, let's say the homeowner doesn't want showings from 12 to 1 because they're home from lunch, I can see that when I'm trying to do my scheduling. The other thing I can quickly see is that what is the drive time? I'm out in Richmond, so some properties are obviously close. Some might take me 25 minutes to drive to. So I can actually see the drive time from property A to property B. So I can see that it's 9 minutes. So when I'm scheduling, I have all of that information right in front of me. I can also see if there is a central lockbox on the property. So let's take a look. So if I'm ready to schedule on our university property, let's say I want to schedule between 10:15 and we'll say 10:45. Now I can see that, yep, the blackout period is over here. So I'm going to say it's only going to take me 10 minutes. So I'm going to do 10:45 to maybe 11:15 for my second property. And you can see how much quicker it is to be able to just schedule those directly. This is a little reminder that tells you if you are showing a buyer with the new NAR settlement MLS practice changes, that you should make sure that you have a buyer representation agreement in place. I feel like I see that 100 times a day right now. I know we're all a little sick of it, but it's just kind of a helpful reminder. Won't be there forever. So we're going to do 11:15, let's say, to 11:45. But you can see how quick and easy that is. But let's say because Lisa's a great agent, she decides that maybe they're a relo buyer, and she's going to take them to lunch in between property 3 and property 4. She could go ahead and actually click the add a listing in. So let me turn her up. She can go click add another stop in. She could add either a listing or she could add the restaurant address so it's part of those turn-by-turn directions. So if you're like me and you finally get your tour all set up, you're ready to walk out the door, guess what happens? They say, hey, guess what, Colin? We found one more listing. You can always go in and click add another listing right to your tour. Once you've got all of your showings in place, you've got all of your time set up, you can do send request. It's going to send all of those at one time so that they can all be confirmed. Once you get that back, you can now click turn-by-turn directions, which you can send over to your buyer. So instead of them calling you saying, hey, Lisa, which property are we going to see first? What are we going to see next? They'll have those turn-by-turn instructions and they'll know exactly where to go. All right, so hopefully that kind of gives you a quick tip that you may not have known was there. Again, that is going directly into the ShowingTime Carts right from your search results. So all I did was I picked a couple of, let's say I searched for a property, picked the properties I wanted to show, went up to my actions button, and put them in my ShowingTime cart. So pretty easy. I still talk to a lot of agents who are scheduling those properties one by one. They're getting out their phone, trying to figure out where they should start, where they should stop. This is a much easier way to be able to put them in a smart route and get those great turn-by-turn instructions. All right, so the next thing is if you wanted to customize your search results, how do you get that agent name in there? Or how do you remove something maybe that you don't want in there? And the answer is going to your Customize button. So on your toolbar, you're going to see Customize, and that's on almost every screen within Paragon. So I'm going to say I want to customize some of the fields, maybe some of the things I don't want there, some of the things I do. If there is something that you don't want in your search result, like maybe zip code, that's not really one I use quite often. So I might want to select zip code, hit remove, and if there's one you want to move up in your search results. So let's say you don't want to always have to scroll over to the right to see everything. Maybe there's something you want to move up. You can actually drag those fields in the order you want. Just remember, you want to hit save when you've got your fields selected and in the order that you choose. All right, so the one I was talking about, the agent name and phone number, let's say you don't have that in there. We get that in there. Well, I'm going to go up to where it says group, and I'm going to change that to agent. The one I'm looking for is agent name. I'm going to move that over. Again, you could do agent name and cell phone. There's a bunch of different options, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to move that up because I enjoy seeing that really close to that front section. So now I can see the listing agent name right from here. So again, you could add it agent name or agent name with phone number or cell phone number. So whatever is going to work best for you. But if you have particular fields that you don't want in here, don't be afraid to go in and remove them. If you're like me, when I first logged into Paragon, I was constantly scrolling over to the right to see the information that I needed. If that's the case, remember you can tweak that by simply moving those or going into Customize and setting it up that way. So don't feel like you always have to go, scroll over past a bunch of fields that you don't use. You can actually customize to be exactly what you want here. Okay, so hopefully that's given you one or two little quick tips so far. This, where we started was our power search at the top here. This power search is good for more than just addresses, but that's really what I use it the most for. But let's say you're getting ready to send Lisa an offer. Well, maybe I want to get the office number or I want to get her contact information to be able to send it to her. Well, I can simply go in, find Lisa's contact record, and even see other listings and inventory that Lisa has. I click on Lisa's name. I can see where she it looks like there's two Lisas. Hold on. There is actually two Elizabeth Harrises. I always forget Elizabeth for you, Lisa. So
Yes.
I'm actually, I was typing Lisa and then I'm like, oh, wait, it's Elizabeth. So if I wanted Lisa's contact information, I can simply pull that open and I can find all her information right there. So I can send her an offer. I can see other listings that she may have currently at the moment, but all of that's going to be under your agent report. So again, that power search right here at the top is really good for finding an agent's contact information. It's really good for finding a particular address, or you could even type up to 30 MLS numbers. I don't know why you would do that. I don't think I would. But if you do have an MLS number that an agent has given you, you can always type that in as well. So I like, MLS numbers can be a little tricky in that field because remember with data sharing, sometimes they are renumbered. So I tell everybody if you're going to use that field, the best thing to use it for is finding an agent or finding a particular address. I think that that's most efficient, and really by address is how most of us search these days. Okay, so your first time-saving tip is that power search. But what if, let's say Lisa is working with a client and they said, Lisa, we just found 10 properties on Zillow or Realtor.com, or can I email these properties over to you? And Lisa says, oh, yeah, but then Lisa has to find those 10 properties. Kind of a pain, right? What if I told you that we actually have a field where you can enter up to 30 properties on one line in one field, and it will bring up all 30 without you having to do anything special. So let me show you the field I'm referring to. The field I'm referring to is called the full addresses field, and you can add it to your quick search. You can add it to your traditional search in Paragon. But the idea, when we created this field, and we built this specifically for our members, when we created this field, it was to allow agents to have more of an advantage. And you know what I mean? Because so many times you'll be talking to a client and they'll say, you know what, Colleen, I just found these 10 addresses, 167 Main Street, 456 Cherry Street, and you're trying to find them. And why is it the consumer, the buyers, were finding them faster than we were? It didn't make sense. So that's really how we built this next field I'm going to show you. I wanted, as an agent, to be able to find properties more efficiently and faster than they were able to find them. And we should, right? We're the licensed professionals. That's where the full addresses was born. So the idea is when you are using the full addresses field, you can type up to 30 fields in. So let's say that they're talking to you on the phone and they said, Kelly, we're looking for information on 123 Main Street. We are looking for information on 41539 Wessel Drive. We are also looking for information on 456 Cherry Avenue. So I can literally just keep hitting enter and I can type in as many addresses as I choose. So up to 30 on that field. But here, then the next thing started popping in my head. Well, that's great, but what if it's 123 Main Boulevard? What if it's 41539 Wessel Drive? What if it's 456 Cherry Avenue? So the good news is, even if there is a street derivative behind it, meaning there's a court, a lane, a drive, whatever it happens to be, it's still going to find it because there's actually a built-in wildcard that is right behind the address. So even if I don't know if it's 41539 Wessel Drive or Wessel Court or Wessel Lane, it's still going to pull that up for me. So it doesn't matter. But then another scenario came up as we were building this, and they went something like this. Well, what if it's 718 Gratiot Avenue, but I don't know if it's North Gratiot or South Gratiot? So that's when you can use, and I would only use this in this field, by the way, that's when you can use the wildcard, which is just basically an asterisk. So now if I use that asterisk, even if it's southbound Gratiot or northbound Gratiot, it really doesn't matter. It's still going to find that property for me. That asterisk is going to pull up everything and still allow me to see that. So again, the full address field is where you can enter up to 30 addresses at one time, and it's going to pull everything up for you. If you don't want a bunch of closed, properties, you could always even go down to your status and type in that you only wanted to see actives and pendings. That's generally what I do, because usually if they're calling on those, they're either usually active or pending properties. So that helps me filter down so I don't get too many at one time. Now, as I mentioned, one of the other benefits here is that you can copy and paste from an email, which I love. So if somebody just sent Lisa 20 different addresses and they emailed them to her, what I generally do is I'll hit forward on the email, which opens up the text, right? I copy them. You just want to make sure that I've got commas in between, and then I paste them into that field. So again, if they've sent me a whole bunch of addresses, I will hit forward, make sure I've got the copies, so I can copy it, but I do want to make sure I have commas in between them, and then I can paste them right into this full addresses field, and I can pull up everything at once. Now, if you like the full addresses field and you just, went into Paragon and you don't see full addresses, kind of that same customizing option. If you go to this little gear at the top, that's that same little widget that's going to allow you to customize it. Let's say you don't have full addresses in your list. I'm just going to remove it real quick. Here's an easy way to add it. Just go right up to this top find box. Just type in the word full. Immediately, full addresses is going to pop up for you. You're going to hit add. If you like it like I do and you use it a lot, You can even adjust the order that it's going to be located in. And I'm simply going to apply. You can apply and save or apply. And now I can go in and I can see that full addresses is right up at the top of my searches. The quick search is really designed to help you find a couple properties fast. It's really not where you're doing that full on detail search. We're going to cover that in just a second. But just kind of a recap, if you're looking for one property fast, this power search is perfect. If you got a call, somebody says, hey, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom home in Sterling Heights, and here's my price range, then quick search is the perfect option. But you can actually just pull it in fast. You can pull up those properties. And once you've pulled up those properties, you can even with one click text it over to the client you're speaking with. So just for the sake of time, I'm going to say that there are some new properties that came onto the market. Okay, so got a couple new properties and I want to send them to my client while I'm talking to them on the phone. So I'm going to say I want to send them this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Now, again, I kind of only like to work with the ones I'm seeing. So I'm going to click that checked button, just kind of how my brain works, makes it a little bit easier. Of course, I could email these properties over to that client, or if I wanted to quickly text this over to the client I'm speaking with, I can hit share, text. If I've already got that client in Paragon, I could pull them up and immediately text it over to them. Or if I need to add a new contact, I can simply put in their first name, last name, and their cell phone number, and I could text them that way. So really easy to email properties over to clients or text them right while you're on the phone. All right, so we talked about setting up our power, using our power search, kind of customizing our search results. We talked a little bit about if you're looking for a few properties fast, the net quick search is a great option. And by the way, it does save your last searches. So let's say you started searching for someone, you walked away, got a cup of coffee, and let's say that it timed out on you or something like that. You can always go back to your last quick search and you can find what we were searching for previously and you can pull that up. So keep in mind, it's going to keep that there for you. Some other ways, and a couple of things I did not know were here, is this speed bar at the bottom. And I apologize, I know it's probably hard to see via GoToWebinar, but here at the bottom. I love this. If you are one of those people who are extremely efficient and maybe every day you're going in and running your hot sheet, maybe you're calling expireds every day. Instead of having to go through multiple clicks to do that, what if I told you you could go to anything in Paragon right from this speed bar? It's really cool. So for instance, let's say you're really good, you go into your hot sheet, run expireds, you call expireds every 3 days. Instead of doing things like that manually, you can actually set that up right here on your speed bar. Let me show you. So your speed bar, just like the other things that we've been looking at, are going to, it's going to allow you to customize exactly what's here. So if I want to go in, let's say I want to be able to go right into Cloud CMA from here. I can simply click on my speed bar and it's going to take me right into the Cloud CMA program. Maybe you want to go right into ShowingTime to schedule appointments without having to do extra clicks. Well, it'll take you right into ShowingTime. So the idea is if you want to eliminate a lot of extra clicks, this is a great way to do that. Maybe you want to go right into a residential search without having to click the extra buttons to get there. You can actually do that right from the speed bar. So just like I showed you previously, you can customize that by simply going to the little gear. It's going to ask you, what do you want to put in your speed bar? So maybe you have saved searches that you've set up for your clients. Maybe that's something that you want to have in your speed bar. Maybe you want to every day run how much inventory you have or do an inventory search. It just depends on what you're looking at. I was kind of using the hot sheet example. So I'm going to say I want to add my hot sheet so I can pull up expireds every day. If there is something under resources, you can go to search resources, and it's going to open all of the options and resources. So maybe you want to go directly into real list. Maybe you want to go to one of the, maybe you want to go to our new membership services portal so that you can pay your bill easily by just clicking. You can actually do that. Maybe you want to go into transaction desk or Authentisign or zip form directly from your speed bar. You just have to decide what you want to be in your speed bar, add it in. It won't allow you to do more than 6 because it obviously has to fit down there. Then all you have to do is hit save. Now I can do any of those items by simply clicking on that item. I can create my call roster for expireds. So maybe you want to go right into transaction desk. So don't be afraid to customize Paragon in the ways that will keep you from having to do all of those extra clicks. All right. Lisa, do we have any questions so far? Lisa's taking questions. All you have to do is type them in that questions box that appears in your GoToWebinar panel. All right, so just a quick recap. We talked about the power search for finding one property fast. We talked about our quick search for finding a couple properties fast. We also talked about how we can customize our speed bar to take us right into different programs. Again, I want to go right into something like market stats. And I don't know if anybody has used market stats, but it is one of my favorite programs, especially when it comes to fast stats and especially in the market that we're in right now. Fast stats is as simple as clicking on fast stats here at the top, clicking on what city, what county first, and then what city. So if I'm going on a listing appointment, let's say tonight in Shelby, and I want to know what's going on, or I want to show in my CMA what's going on in the Shelby market, by simply clicking on Shelby, I can show them exactly what's going on in their market up to date. Now, this is really cool. It's always 1 month behind because it's got to gather all the stats for it. So it's usually about 40 days behind. But if I look and I want to show my homeowner what's going on in their market right now, I can show them very easily by simply clicking on the city that they're down about 18% in their inventory. I can also show them that last year in August of 2023, they had 152 listings on the market. It wasn't really that much to sell. Now we're looking at about a 20% decrease, right? We've only got 125 listings on the market. Of course, supply and demand don't have enough to sell, so therefore it's going for more. And I can see our average sales price is up. But it's really interesting as you look city to city, how much these numbers are varying. Now, very different story in the condo market. Shelby actually had quite a few new condo complexes go in over the last year. You can see that that has definitely played a factor in the condo market because we see the condo inventory is up by 84%. So we had 25 condos on the market last year, 46 on the market this year. And of course, we're still seeing that huge supply, that huge demand for property in that area. And look at our average sales price went from 274 to 319. So great way. I actually print this off as a PDF, and then I pull it into my Cloud CMA report when I am getting ready to sit down with the homeowner and discuss what we're going to list their home for. I love having this graph right in my CMA so we can cover all those questions and I can educate them on exactly what's going on in their market. All right. So hopefully you found that helpful. Again, you can put that speed bar right down here to market stats, which will take you right in there anytime you are looking to show a homeowner what's going on in their marketplace. All right, so let's get into a few more customizations that you can do. One is your market monitor. Now, your market monitor, of course, is going to show what you have going on. So if you have something coming up for a listing coming up that's ready to expire, if you've got a new listing, if you've got an open house scheduled, all of that is going to show in the first tab of your market monitor. However, if you are, let's say, maybe you want to see anything new for your office in the last 3 days. Well, I can see that there are 8 new listings for my office. I can see that my office has 241 listings currently. Maybe you have multiple offices. So maybe your firm has 3 or 4 different brick and mortar locations. You can actually click on firm, and I can see firm wide what those numbers are. Or maybe you're just watching a particular market. Lisa works a lot by where she lives, and she can go in and actually set up her market. Instead of having to go in and search over and over again, Lisa can just go set up her market monitor to reflect that area. And then every time she logs in, she can see exactly what's new in the area that she set up. So how do we customize our market monitor? Let me close a few of these so it's not so distracting here. Our market monitor, just like everything else we're customizing, can be done under this little edit widget. Same thing, look for that little gear, and it's just, what are you looking for? Now, maybe you're looking over a county. Maybe you're looking over multiple cities. All you have to do is type in what you're looking for. So I do mostly single family homes. Maybe, and if you don't know what, by the way, if you don't know what goes in a particular field, if you click on that magnifying glass to the right, it'll show you. So maybe I'm looking for condos and single family homes. Maybe I am looking in a couple cities. Maybe I'm looking in Sterling Heights. Maybe I'm looking in Shelby Township. Maybe I'm looking in, let's say, Warren. All I have to do is start typing the name in. Of course, you could do, maybe there's 20 different cities you want to put in here. You could do that. Or maybe you want to put in multiple counties. You could do that. You can even limit it by school district. You can also set your market monitor to open. Maybe you want it to open to your info. So automatically you see everything you have going on in that square. And then how many days back do you want your default to be set to? So again, you can really customize exactly what you want to display in your market monitor. Now, one thing that kind of, when I started using Paragon, and by the way, your Paragon might look a little bit different than mine. Where I am, I know we've invited a lot of our vendor MLSs to these trainings. So where I am, the brokers control this center section. And so Lisa did a great video for us about the NAR settlement and MLS practice changes, what you need to know when working with a buyer. So my broker really liked that, and he wanted that to be on his front page so that every time his agents were working with a buyer, they had a 2-minute little script in front of them of maybe things that they might want to be able to say or ways that they could educate the buyer on, some of these new changes. So where I am, this center section is actually controlled by the broker. However, you may be with a board that controls that center section. It's kind of the same thing. But the one thing I didn't like about Paragon, and actually Lisa showed me this, when I logged in, this is what it looked like, and I hated it. I really did not like it because I couldn't find anything. I thought, well, this is stupid. Why do I have all this white space? This doesn't make any sense. So what I wanted, because I'm kind of right-brained and right-handed, I wanted my quick search to be over here on the right. I wanted my showing time because I want to know, does my new listing have any appointments on it today? The appointment that I scheduled this morning hasn't been confirmed yet. So I wanted my showing time widget right up here at the top. Then my market monitor right underneath. Or maybe you wanted your client information at the top. All you have to do is grab the top of these bars. Maybe you wanted, I'm going to move the clients up to the top here. Maybe you want to see if your client logged in and got any, if he found any new homes he was interested in the Collab Center. So keep in mind, you can actually move these little widgets in any order you want. I would recommend, putting your showing time at the top because that's one that we're always using. I also really like my market monitor to be there, but I like my full right panel here to be my quick search. So don't be afraid to move these in the order that makes sense for you. So again, if you want to move them, you just grab them by that top bar and drag them into the position that works best for you. All right, so let's get into some helpful hints when you're doing a full-on search. So we talked about if you're looking for one property fast, this power search is awesome. If you are doing, if you're trying to find a couple properties quick for someone while you're on the phone, quick search is a good option. That full addresses field is great when you're trying to pull up specific properties for a client. But what about the average client who says, Lisa, I need a 3-bedroom home, and I am looking for an attached garage and a finished basement? Well, that's a lot more detail than just a basement and a garage, right? And if Lisa were to set her clients up in an automated way, she would not want to just set it up with those limited details. So kind of let me explain. So let's say Lisa's client said to her, Lisa, we have to have a finished basement. We got 5 kids. We got to have room, we need a finished basement. And Lisa goes in, just does a traditional search, checks off basement, and now they're getting all these results. And they say to Lisa, well, Lisa, we are really specific. We got to have a finished basement. I'm getting all these unfinished basements, and now we're running around looking at stuff we didn't really want to see. Well, Lisa wouldn't want to do that. She would want to make sure that she's got those haves and wants that were really important to them right in their search setup. So if she turns on the automated collab center, which we're going to look at in just a minute, they're only getting what they actually wanted to see. I'll tell you funny stories. Lisa and I always say we should write books. Lisa and I have had, I kid you not, we have had some funny, very unusual real estate stories. And I think most people in real estate can say that this is a true statement. You cannot make that up in real estate. Lisa and I literally, Lisa was going out of town and she asked me to attend a closing for her. And it was the funniest closing I think I've ever had, because this person decided to raise sows. You heard me right, sows, which I didn't know this, but they gain 10 pounds a week. So when they originally accepted the offer, they brought home these little piglets. Well, the long story short is Lisa's buyer was buying this place, and they were going to use this old barn, this old wooden barn that had, nothing in it. And they were going to convert it to an office. Well, it was really funny because as I'm doing her final walkthrough, and there's these giant pigs running through the barn now. Anyway, can't make this stuff up, only in real estate. So in real estate, there are always those unusual stories or those unusual things that happen. On the Collab Center, even though it's automated and it's automatically sending these out to your buyer, it has ways that you still stay in control. So a good example of that, another one of those stories that you can't make up, had a wonderful closing recently with just the nicest lady. One of those people that starts off as a client, becomes a friend, and you just, you can't wait to go have dinner with them afterward because you just have this great relationship after this experience. And so we're sitting at the closing, and she said, my sister just started looking, and then I give her your contact information. And I thought, oh, that's so great. She's so wonderful. I'm sure the sister must be the same. No, they were not. Polar opposites, actually. My second conversation with the sister literally went like this. If you send me one more yellow-sided home, I'm going to fire you and get another agent. Well, first of all, I didn't know she didn't like yellow siding. I think she never really mentioned that. But second of all, there is no button in the MLS, by the way, that says remove all yellow-sided options before sending to the client. So for those types of scenarios, those more difficult or challenging buyers, in the Collab Center, there's something called Agent Preview, which basically you set it up the same way, except first it comes to you, the agent. So I could then see, does it have yellow siding? Oh, okay, it's good to go to the client. So if I hit accept, it's automatically going to go to the client. If I say, oh my gosh, it's got yellow siding, don't send, you can disapprove, and now it never goes to the client. So there's ways that you can stay on top of it still. Another example that I had, and they were just the nicest kids, first-time home buyers. They must have said to me 30 different times, Colleen, we're only looking in St. Clair Shores. Don't even show us houses outside of St. Clair Shores. We are going to live in St. Clair Shores. That's the only place we're living. So you know what happened? They bought outside of St. Clair Shores, right? That's how it works, because sometimes we, the agents, actually know a little bit more than those first-time home buyers, right? And we know what they think they want might not be what they end up with. So case in point, a friend of mine listed a home 1 street out of St. Clair Shores. But when we were talking, she told me about it. And when she described it, the light bulb went on in my head. I knew this was their house. So I did an agent recommended in the collab center, which basically pops up and says, your agent recommends you still view this. Wouldn't have come to them automatically because guess what? It was one street outside of St. Clair Shores. So it didn't come up in the automated St. Clair Shores searches, but I knew it was the right one for them. Sure enough, we walked in, they fell in love with it. We wrote it right on the kitchen table and we closed it up. So sometimes there has to be ways, even though it's automated, for the agent to make suggestions or the agent to preview it. So it's got these cool tools that are actually built in there that still give the agent the upper hand. Because let's face it, we a lot of times know in this limited inventory market, they might end up having to move one street outside of St. Clair Shores, and that's exactly what happened. So let's take a look at setting up those searches, saving those searches, and then turning on that automated end of it, which is the collab center. All right, so let's take a look at that next. All right, so how do you do that? It's really as easy as setting up a search and marrying the search to who you want to get the results for. So by the way, when you go into Paragon and you go to this search area, you can search for all types of things. You could pull up your saved searches. You could pull up open houses. You could see how much inventory you've sold for the last 10 years. You can do all of that. You can go to your hot sheet and run expired so that you can make your calls today. By the way, I always get this next question, so I'll just tell you. Well, Colleen, if this is the hot sheet, what is the auto hot sheet? Well, the auto hot sheet is simply a hot sheet from the last time you opened it. So if you're going in every 3 or 4 days and running expired so that you can call them, well, this would remind you, okay, you logged in 3 days ago. If you click auto hot sheet, it's going to show you anything new from the last time you logged in. All right, so let's go in. Let's set up a traditional search for our buyer. I'm going to show you something I wish I would have known was in here forever ago. So first, it's just literally asking you, what is your buyer looking for? By the way, you can see I've done some customizing in here. I've added that full addresses search to here as well. I was teaching in Detroit the other day, and they said, Colleen, Detroit is so big, we search by zip code more than anything here, so I added the zip code field. Remember, just like I showed you before, you can always customize what's here, though. But here is one thing that I did not know was here, and I wish I did because now I use it all the time. Let's say that Lisa's working with an investor, and the investor says to Lisa, you know what, I'm looking in 2 counties. I'm looking in Macomb and Oakland. I'll take pretty much anything in those. I can fix them up even if they need a little work. However, there are 3 or 4 cities I'm not keen on. Fraser has, that CVO thing and those inspections. I really don't want to buy in Fraser. And, maybe I'm not looking for East Point, and maybe I'm not looking for. So there's probably 50 cities in his list that he is looking for, right? But Lisa doesn't want to go in and add 50 cities by manually typing them out. Gosh, that would be a pain. So here's a little trick. Many times, especially if you're with our vendor MLSs, a lot of times people don't know that there's an easy way to identify where a property is. So let me kind of show you what I mean. I'm going to give you a little example and then I'm going to show you. So if I am looking in Clinton Township, you did not know there are actually 5 Clinton Townships in the state of Michigan. Now, in my brain, I never would have thought that. I would have thought Clinton Township, there would be 1 in the state of Michigan, but no. So if I want to know which one of those Clinton Townships is in Macomb County, how do I know? Because if I set up the wrong one, my client isn't going to get any of the houses that they're looking for, right? So how do I know which Clinton Township is the one in Macomb County? Well, there's 2 ways we could do that. One, we could go down to county. We could specify that we only want Macomb County, which I can see has an identifying number of 50. Okay, so if I put in Macomb County and I go back to that area search and I type in Clinton Township again, guess what? I'm only going to see the Clinton Township in Macomb County. Makes sense, right? However, if I, let's say, that now I know that Clinton or Macomb County is 50, see that this would clearly be the Clinton Township in Macomb County. So I know it's 50. I'm going to go back to that Clinton Township. If I type Clinton Township again, I don't fat finger it, that is. If I type Clinton Township again, if I were to see that same list, I would now be able to identify that, yep, this would be the Clinton Township in Macomb County. Now I'm going somewhere with this example, I promise. I know you're probably like, what is she going on about? But the reason I brought this up is if you have an investor who has said, like in Lisa's case, I am going to look for everything in Macomb County, but I don't want this city, or this city. Here is a quick tip. If you go to that magnifying glass to the right, so I'm looking at area here, that's where I would normally type in all those cities, which would take me forever. If you want to just select all but one or two, click on that magnifying glass. Now we know that the identifier for Macomb County started with 50, right? So what if I told you I could bring up every city in that county and select it with one click and then just remove, I think I used East Point in my example, and I used Centerline. So if Lisa wants to make sure he's set up with all of the cities in that county, or even multiple counties, you can do the same thing with multiple counties. All you have to do is go in, select. So you're going to click on your magnifying glass. I think, is it 23? I think is Flint. I'm looking for, maybe it's 65. I can't remember. I just know Macomb County so well. If I'm looking for all in the, I think it's, that's Tennessee. I can click 65, begins with, and now I can see everything in that particular county all in one. So I can see all 19 records here. And if it's just one or two that he didn't want to include, I could go ahead and just deselect those. So you can do it with multiple counties, but it's a much easier way than you can see typing in each one of these minus the one or two that they didn't want. I just think it's a way easier way to do that. All right. If you ever make a mistake though, and you want to remove them, you can simply go right to your criteria summary, hit the X, and it will pull it all back out. So I just wanted to, I never knew that worked that way. And you'd have investors who were searching in large areas, and I found it was just taking so long to set up their searches. So that's kind of a quick and easy way. If you know that identifying number, like again, if I go to the county, I can see 50 for Macomb County. Now when I want to add in all the cities, but maybe one or two, I go to the cities or areas, type in begins with 50. Now I can see all of those Macomb counties. There's actually 2 pages, so I'm going to adjust that so I can see all the records at once. And I can then go in, deselect those one or two I'm not looking for, and add them in with one click. All right, so hopefully that helped you, because for me, I did not know that was there, and I thought it was very, very cool. All right, so I'm going to go in and start putting in some basic criteria. So my client is looking for a ranch style home. They are looking, obviously we're looking for all actives. We're looking for a minimum of 3 bedrooms and a finished basement. All right, but here we have basement, but that's not enough detail. Yes, they're looking for a garage, but they want an attached garage. So how do I add that extra level of detail? And that actually comes in the way of features. Features work like this. 3 different options. Must have means that it has to have this item, or don't even bother sending it to my buyer. Must not have, if it contains this item, I don't want it to go to my buyer. Or must have at least one of these, like maybe they're looking for a pole barn or a shed because they have an outside business. So let's take a look at the first one. So must have. So if that client says must have an attached garage, that's very important to them, I can add that level by simply typing it into must have. Had a client recently going through a really bad divorce over here in Lenox, and Lenox is in Macomb County, and that is a pass or fail septic area where it has to actually pass before closing, has to be inspected. And the husband had made the statement because they were married after he was in the home, that the septic field was actually new. Well, it turns out that that was a false statement because it was 17 years old. And by the way, what made it so bad was that he put an above ground pool on top of the septic field. I kid you not. This is one of those stories you can't make up in real estate. Well, do you know what an above ground swimming pool does on a septic field? It crushes the pipes. Not good. So what was happening is pipes had been crushed and it was actually leaking into the soil. So it did not pass. It was not new and it was a problem. And the problem could only be remedied by an engineered raised septic field in the amount of $17,000. Now, to some people, that might not sound like a lot of money, but when you're getting a divorce on a $125,000 house, it's a lot of money. So the first thing she said to me when we went out to look for her new house was, Colleen, don't ever show me anything on a septic field. I don't want to ever hear the word septic field. I don't want to care for a septic field. So no problem, right? How are we going to do that? We're actually just going to use the must not have. Septic field is a required field. So anything that has septic in it was not going to be delivered to her. Then there is the must have at least one of these items. Must have either a pole barn or an oversized shed. So things like that would be, at least if it has one of those, then it can go to the buyer. And you're probably thinking, well, Colleen, how do I know what they're called? There's all different things. You're right. I find the easiest way to find out what the features are is to click on the magnifying glass to the right and then pick the type. So these are all categorized for you. The first one is basement. Again, so if Lisa's buyer only wants an attached basement, I'm going to select must have a finished basement. If it's not finished, they don't want to see it. So I want to make sure I'm sending those finished basements over. Kind of that same concept for attached garage that I just sort of transposed. So if I go to garage type, they're not interested in anything unless it has an attached garage. So these are ways that you can add that extra level of detail that we talked about. Some other examples, and I never knew this one was in here, and at least is the one who showed me this. I have to give her the credit for it. If you have a buyer, and that buyer is specifically looking to buy things, let's say on a land contract, you don't want every single thing going to them, right? Because not every seller is going to entertain land contract terms. So maybe I want to make sure that I'm sending things that would be that had land contract options checked. So financial terms are in here as well. Another example would be water features. This is another good one. So let's say Lisa's client would love to be on Lake St. Clair, don't get me wrong, but really they have a boat and they just want to make sure that boat is at the home. So we could say canal frontage would work. If they had lake frontage, that would obviously be great. But if they had just river access getting them to Lake St. Clair, they would be okay with that. Many of these were added, and I think Judy Bowman was going to be on this today. I didn't look who was here so far, but many of these were added for Claire Gladwin, meaning they had some very extensive circumstances, like they needed shared waterfront. They had, I think it was Sugar Springs, if I remember correctly. It's been so long now, but they had commons to waterfront, shared waterfront, and these were things that they wanted them to have at least one of these. They either had to have commons to waterfront or shared waterfront. So there's more than one option. Then I know we've got some people from the UP. One of the big things that we heard from the Upper Peninsula Association of Realtors was we need a way to only send things on the Great Lake versus the smaller lakes in the UP. Or maybe they wanted to just search on interior lake. So they needed ways to be able to search for those options. So keep in mind, if you're looking for more detail, a great way to do that is to actually go into the features, open them up, and that's where you can give even more detail to your searches, such as attached garage or finished basement, instead of just saying yes basement, yes garage. Okay? All right, so I'm starting to put in my criteria, and you're probably thinking, well, Colleen, that's great. You have 3,000 listings in a no inventory market. I think you might be missing something. And you're absolutely right. It's the most important thing, location, 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 right? But in this case, maybe my client has said something like, you know what? I want to live within 5 miles from where I work. Well, how would I do that? Well, if you go into search by map, the easiest way to do that is to go up to this field right here and enter their work address. So I'm going to say he works at 41539 Wessel. It's my old trusty. If you've taken a lot of classes with me, you know I use this for a lot of good examples. So when you're using this field, the thing to remember is it uses Google Maps. So the first thing you want to remember is less is best. This happens to be Wessel Drive. Leave off the drives, the ways, the places, the courts, the avenues. Just put in the route street name. Then comma, the city. So in this case, we've got 41539 Wessel Drive, but I've just put in Wessel, comma, the city of Sterling Heights. When I click on the magnifying glass, it's now going to locate that. It's going to put your subject flag in. By the way, if you're like me and you see this little yellow Google man everywhere, but you never use him, if you're going to list this property, let's say, kind of role reverse, did you know you can actually set that little Google man right in front of the listing, and you can walk down the street as you're seeing here? Your buyers can do this too in the collab center. But what I love is if you've never seen the property you're listing that you're going to go list tonight, Judy can actually see, oh yeah, here's that flag right here. This is the property I'm listing this evening. Not only that, but if it's an hour away and you don't want to drive to check out the neighborhood ahead of time, do you know how nice it is when you and your buyers can literally just walk down the entire neighborhood and see every property? That is a huge time saver. So I love that. I had seen it on everything, but never really played with it. So keep in mind that little yellow Google man over here, when you put him on the map, allows you to do that Google Street View. Now we've got our work address though, but they said they want to stay, let's say, within 3 miles of work. Maybe or 3 miles of, where mom and dad live so they can help out with the kids. You can actually do that radius right here. And immediately I can start seeing all those active listings. If you see these little clusters, all that means is that the listings are close to each other. If you zoom in, it will break them apart, but obviously if you get those flags right on top of each other, they're kind of hard to navigate, as you probably know. So if you do want to uncluster them, all you're going to do is, as you move closer, you can see it just breaks them apart. Okay, couple other examples that I wanted to show you here, especially when you're working with buyers. Let's say Lisa's buyer says, hey, Lisa, flood insurance is pretty expensive right now. Is that an area I'm going to need flood insurance in? Now, I tell people this is not an elevation cert. This is not a survey. But what this does is it does allow you to have kind of a visual of where you might need to ask the question, do I need to have flood insurance? I used to live in this area, so I know they do have a lot of flooding. What this does is it applies the FEMA flood maps. So I can see, oh yeah. And by the way, if you want the little legend, that's in here as well. So I can see that what has the 500-year floodplain, 100-year floodplain, or what we know is a common flooding area. So you can apply that. Now, I had another really good example that popped up, and I love this lady. A good friend of mine, Flo Abke, called with a great example recently, and I thought, oh my gosh, I got to add this to my class. That's kind of how I wrote this class, was all the things I wish I would have known that nobody ever taught me. And so one of the things she was trying to do, and I thought this was just a super example, she said, Colleen, I have a volunteer firefighter and he has to live within the city. And this happened to be kind of a really rural area that she was doing. She works all over. She's just an amazing agent and a good friend of mine. Actually, I did my first deal with her in real estate. It was kind of a disaster. So someday if I ever meet you and we have drinks, I'll tell you about my first disaster deal. But when she was doing her search, she was saying, because he's a volunteer firefighter, he has to live within this rural area, but he can't live even one street outside that area. So I'm like, oh, well, yeah, that would be kind of tricky. So she said, how can I see if I'm looking at the map like this? How do I see where a particular city starts or ends? And I thought, oh, wow, that's a good question. If you're looking at this and you're drawing, he wants to live, and it was very close to a nature preserve too. But it's very hard to tell where that was. So let's say that he wants to live north of East Square Lake. He doesn't want to go east of Mound, but he also doesn't want to go north of 59. He wants to stay close. So I'm just kind of giving you some boundaries, and I'm just kind of drawing these out, right? How do I know if that whole area I've just drawn is within the municipality he has to live in order to keep his job? Because again, if he's one street outside, he can't be on the volunteer firefighters or the volunteer fire unit. And so how do I know that? So you can actually go. So when she was setting up her search, she went to that same place, this layers right here, and we're going to add on the municipality. And we're even going to turn on the labeling. Now, where this got really cool is she can see, oh, yeah, no, this is outside. I would not want to set up his search this way because he's half into another city. So that search would not work for him. So it allowed her to be so specific. I'll show you what she ended up doing. It was a cool example. And I thought that's a good example for our class. You can even zoom in, so I can kind of see where that bordering street is between Sterling Heights and Troy, right here, right? And by the way, you can even, if you wanted to take it a step further, you could change it from your road map to like an aerial view. So you could really get in and see exactly where that street line is. So I can see right here is that divider. And so as I zoom in, I can see this is the dividing road, which I really thought that was very helpful. Other things that you can do, you can actually add in parcel lines. So if I'm looking for a particular parcel, or I want to see if these are bigger parcels, you can click on the parcel. It will give you the parcel size, and it will also show you that Google map right over here to the left of what that home looks like. So I thought that was very cool as well. So I can kind of very quickly see the lot lines, what that lot size is, as well as I can see that property, even though it's not listed. Now I'm going to tell you another cool thing that is coming, and I'm really excited about it because we used to have it in a great product, which sadly homes.com bought and killed, called HomeSnap. One of the things I loved in HomeSnap that is coming is you're going to be able to flag a property. Let's say that your Lisa's buyer called her and said, "Oh, this property on the corner over there on Quartz, I hear that's going into foreclosure, and I love that home. We've always dreamed, Lisa, of living in there. I want to be one of the first people to see it." You're going to be able to flag that property as a potential watch, which will flag you the second anything changes with that property, meaning that it goes on the market, or if it's on the market that changes price, you can actually do a property watch, which I love. So a lot of cool things coming. And I missed that in HomeSnap. That was a really great feature. And unfortunately, when they got rid of HomeSnap, that was one of the features I really, really loved. All right, so let me go back to our roadmap. Again, you can be very specific with setting up the searches. So in Flo Abke's case, where he needed to live in that particular municipality, you can do all of those things I just showed you right underneath the layers here. And if you want to turn it off, remember, just uncheck it. If you want to add floodplains, turn it on. You can just check it. There's all kind of things. You can keep it in a particular postal code. You can display school districts. You can display public schools. You can even see bus routes now. So a lot you can do. Not that we use buses much here, but in Ann Arbor, that's obviously a really big thing. And so important to have those. So once I have got my search criteria set up, so I'm just going to say we're going to do a 5-mile search. And that way he can live within 5 miles of where he works. And if I've forgotten any criteria, I can just jump back here. You can see we got 70 listings, which we know in this market that probably would not be. And that's because we haven't put in any price. So we're going to say we're going to start at 500,000. And hopefully we got 4. So, so not many on the market for sure. All right, I'm going to go ahead now and hit search. Again, I can even see who has them listed. I could very easily show these properties, but what I want to show you right now is where we're going to kind of conclude, and that's with starting in the collab center. Now, if you're like me, remember we recorded this class, but if you're like me, you may kind of have that deer in the headlight gaze going, oh my gosh, she talks so fast and she covered so much. How am I going to remember all this? Don't worry. That's why we recorded this class. You can always go back and see it at any time. This next thing I'm going to show you, I'm just going to kind of cover it a little tiny bit because there's a whole class on it. It's called the Collaboration Center. And the Collaboration Center is really just that, where you collaborate with your buyers. It allows you to see what they're liking. If they favorite a listing, it comes right to you. It'll even tell you the time that they want to see it, so you can drop it in those cool ShowingTime carts that I showed you. So a whole lot you can do, but it's really just an automated search. And I get this question probably 2 times a week. Colleen, you said all of the tools that you offer are in that resources or agent toolbox, but there's no collab center. And that's because it's so easy. It's just literally a search that you marry to a contact, and there's really no extra thing to click on to do it. So I'm going to show you exactly how to set that up. So once you've got your search in place, like we've just done, the hardest part of turning on the collab center is just marrying it to your prospect. Where do you want it to go? And so that's what we're going to wrap up with today. So we've got our 4 properties that we want to get over to our buyer, but we want to set up that automated search for them going forward. So I want to do a save search as. So we've got all of our criteria, right? We added in all of our criteria, our price, our haves and wants, our finished basement, our not on a septic, whatever it happens to be. We've got our map search that we did. We now have all of our search results. But the next thing is we want to go in and we want to do a save search as, because that's where we're going to marry the search name to our contact. So I'm going to say Lisa's client search. Next thing I want to do is I want to go into the contact. And if you already have the contact in Paragon, well, you could find them. But in this case, we're going to add Lisa's brand new buyer. And we're going to call her Bertha Buyer. I know, not very original, but it'll help me remember to delete this person later. And we're going to put in Bertha's email address. Okay. Once we've done that, we've done the hardest part. We're going to go ahead and hit save. And we're going to notify them of their new search result, and we're going to turn their collab center on. We want to make sure that they get those, but we want to make sure all new properties automatically get sent over to them. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to send the welcome message, which is going to invite them to start using the collab center. One more cool thing you can do here, let's say that it's an investor and he's getting constant notifications of, oh my gosh, this house went on the market, that house, because he's looking all over Michigan. You may want to set that up in that case, and probably not in today's market, by the way, but if they're getting too many notifications, you can actually set up so that they get all their notifications. Maybe they want them once a week on Tuesdays, or maybe once every other week. Or what I do, I don't really do that for clients because we don't have enough inventory. But you could also do that for yourself. Maybe you want yourself to get a recurring, instead of BCCing you on everything, which I would hate. Lisa would really hate it. She's got like 95,000 unread emails. It makes me crazy. We were comparing Yahoos. I think I only have 13,000 in my Yahoo, but anyway, if you're getting a ton of email, you may want to put those on a recurring time frame so that maybe once a week you get everything that went out to your client instead of getting them all of the time. So really easy ways to customize that. In this market, mostly we're just putting things on immediate so that our clients get it right away. We're going to go ahead and send that welcome message. It's going to invite them to start using the Collab Center. But here's where this gets really interesting. So now I've got them all set up in here, but how do I find out what they like? How do I find out when they last logged in, what they're looking at? Well, everything from there going forward, you can do right under your contacts. So if I click on contacts right up here, I can click view and manage my contacts. I can see anything that's waiting on my approval. Remember how I said you could approve them first in case they have yellow siding? But I can also see exactly what my clients are liking, and I can even go into their Collab Center to see what their last notifications were. So maybe they're looking at this house and let's go into the details here. All right, so they're taking a look at this house on Plumbrook. They really like it. They can even see the seller's disclosure and lead-based paint. They, of course, can see all of the photos and room sizes. They can do a street view, just like I showed you in Google before. But they can even view the seller's disclosure and lead-based paint. So I don't have to send it to them. They can see it right from here. If they like this home, they can simply favorite it. And they can even scroll down and put in a time and date, which immediately sends me that they favorited this property and they would like to see it tomorrow at 10 a.m. Now, it doesn't schedule the appointment for that. All it does is it sends it to me, the agent, right away, so I can go ahead and start scheduling appointments on that listing. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you a couple of my favorite things in here. So I'm going to say that my clients went in. They favorited 4 or 5 great listings that they wanted to see. Remember, I'm going to get those notifications immediately as the agent. So they went in, they favorited a few listings. Now I want to go in and I want to see, hey, did my clients log in to the collaboration center that I set them up yesterday? So I'm going to go back to my contacts, view or manage my contacts. Yep, my client has 5 favorite properties here. So I got those notifications. Here's where it gets really cool, but I can see when they logged in. I can see when I added them. I can see when they last logged in. I can see the last time they got a notification or a new property. But this is my favorite part. Not only can I go in and see their collaboration center, they can also run their own searches in there. So maybe they want to increase their price range. If they modify the search I set up, like they increase their price range, it notifies me as the agent. But let's say I want to schedule. So they went in and they favorited these 5 properties. They told me they want to see them tomorrow at 10 a.m. I can now click on this, my favorite part. I can click on this number 5. This is another one of those tricks Lisa showed me. I'm going to go ahead and say they want to see these 5. Remember I said the easy button is right here, that actions button to throw them in my scheduling cart, my ShowingTime cart. I'm going to click on ShowingTime and I'm going to add to my ShowingTime cart just like we looked at before. Now our Bertha buyer or Barry buyer, we can go ahead and start scheduling those showings right from here. Oh, see, we got a blackout time here. I can see that this one's a go and show, so maybe I want to start with that one first. But it allows you to do all of that right from your contacts in Paragon. All right, I know I have probably completely overwhelmed you, bouncing around, showing you little bits and pieces, but remember, this class is kind of a high level. There's a whole class on market stats. There's a whole class on the Collaboration Center. So there's further classes that you can take. All of our classes here at My Real Source are free. And there's a class on each one of those items that you can take to even expound on it further. The last thing I want to remind you is because I showed you a lot at a very high level and in a very quick amount of time, we have the recorded videos, we have the education center, the education classes I'm going to go back to, but there's also cheat sheets that Lisa and I wrote. So just as kind of a quick reminder, if you go to resources and you go to our education area, this is where you can find this class recorded. So give me about a day to get it up there. You're going to click on Education, Recorded Webinars. And all of our class videos are right here. So if you want that class on the Collaboration Center that we just talked about, that's right here. If you want to watch it at 1 o'clock in the morning, because that's when you got all the kids to bed and lunches are packed, you can simply click on play, fast forward to the area that you need, but that's an entire class. Again, if you wanted cloud CMAs in there, all of our classes have been recorded so that you can go back and watch them at any time. As I mentioned, if you're looking for future classes, and I'm actually adding a few more classes today, if you're looking for future upcoming webinars that are live like this, you can go again to your resources, the education corner, and simply click through our catalog of courses and then register for the course you're interested in. Today, I'll be adding all the photography classes. I love our photography class. I've actually taken it three parts. And it's taught by Taylor Fedewa. She has a degree in photography and a degree in communication. It's a great class. I can't recommend it enough, because what happens is in the photography class, there's her beginning class, which she shows you some tips and tricks that you're going to want to know. Like for me, one of the challenges I have is if I'm let's say taking a picture of the bridgeway, or I'm trying to photograph a hallway, they always kind of look short and stumpy, and if it's a beautiful elongated bridgeway, I don't want it to look like that. So she shows you how to add more light and aperture in your shots so that the shots are elongated, and it shows how long things like that are, which I did not know. The other challenge I have is even in those beautiful homes where they have beautiful powder rooms, if the bathrooms are small, a lot of times you're either in the mirror, right, which is horrible, or you get a front and center shot of the toilet. We all know it has a toilet, so no one wants to really focus on that. So she'll show you how in those little powder rooms, how to angle up. She has a very patented, and I see it through the MLS, so I can always tell who's taken her class because it's a very cool technique. She'll show you examples like how to angle off the counter into the mirror to get the entire room. It was just a fabulous trick that I learned. And so I love that. Then in part 2, he's going to show you some more things that you need to know. And then in part 3, which is my favorite, which is her photo field trip, she actually has some different models from builders that are fully furnished. They're usually, $1 million fully furnished models. And she actually has a tripod set up in 6 areas in these homes. And then she will ask you to take photos, and you get like 10 minutes in each station. And then when you take the photo, she will come back and critique it with you, how you could have even done it better. It's really, really cool. It's called our photo field trip. So those classes are going to be added today as well. But if you haven't checked out our education corner where you can sign up for all of these classes, you'll find that right under the resources area. The last thing I want to show you is that MLS documents area where we have those cheat sheets. So if you go to the MLS documents, which is, by the way, right up here in Paragon, under the MLS folders that will open, you'll see education files. Basically, it'll say cheat sheets underneath. So if you had a question on, let's say, setting up the Collab Center, you could click on the Collab Center and it will open up a PDF where you can see exactly how to use the Collab Center and set up your buyers. So there's 76 different cheat sheets in there. There's one for everything, I assure you. I think Lisa and I have wrote 90% of them. So really easy. And by the way, if there's a lot of them and you're confused of what it would be called, just go up to the top find here. So let's say you're looking for Authentisign. You want to know how to use Authentisign. You can simply type in Authentisign and it will pop up that handout for you. Just makes it that much easier. All right, Lisa, I see that there is a couple of questions. Did you have any questions you wanted to throw out there?
Actually, everything has been answered. Just one of the agents was having a problem finding something on her page, but we figured it out. It was just her page was, I think, opened up too big. But anyways, that's all taken care of. Yeah, there was nothing else that we need to answer now. It looks like everybody.
All right, I have one question for you, Lisa, from Judy, who I just adore. Judy Bowman wants to know, are you going to the Michigan Realtor Conference? Are you going to that convention?
No, I'm sorry, I'm not. Are you going up there?
I am. So I will be there. I was kind of hoping you would be there because it would be fun. But I will be there, Judy, to answer your question. But unless I can talk Lisa into it, which I'm going to try really hard after this webinar. But it would be a lot of fun, Lisa, and we would certainly love to have you, and we could hang out a little bit. But
When is
I will find out, Judy, and let you know for sure. But I'd love to see you. Maybe we can have a drink when we're there together.
when is the conference?
It is the end of this month. It is hold on, I'm going to tell you, I think it's the 25th and 26th. And I know that because it's the day after Jake's birthday. And my ex-husband usually takes Jake, but he informed me yesterday that he is not going to be taking Jake. So Jake is going to see his grandparents. And so I will be there, but I would love it if you're free and you can go. It would be really a hoot.
Yeah, we will talk more about it. Sounds good.
All right. Sounds fun. All right. Well, thanks for reminding me, Judy. Otherwise, I would have forgot to ask her. So I want to thank everybody for your time. Hopefully you learned a couple time-saving tips and techniques today that you can use to make your business even more efficient. And thank you, Lisa, for handling all of those questions. That's a hard job behind the scenes to always help out. So I appreciate you. And hopefully everybody has a great day and happy selling.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Bye,
Bye, Kelly.
everybody.
Have a good one.
Bye.